Yo, yo, you see these dreams only seem to manifest when I'm woke. I'll bite the wings off an angel if that shit helps me cope. But on this downhill stream where we tumble and roll, it seems I only find solace in a couple of folks. Yeah, man, I'm grown now. I'm trying to...
I started my first business venture company in 1999. From 1998 up until 1999, I was working for a company in the city. This is back in London, and I just finished my master's, and I started working for a company called Ultramind. Actually, they changed their name to UltraSys, and I was working as the assistant IT manager there, and we had problems with salary, and I quit the job. And after I quit, I found it difficult to get another job instantly. So me and a friend started an IT consultation business with a prospective project that didn't really come round. But I just decided to keep the IT consultation thing going because I had some skills. I could build way back then. I started building websites. They were not like really smart, intelligent. Most websites then were static. The only very, very big websites had databases attached to them. So that was what I did. I started my IT consultancy. I used everything that I had learned and more. Started with that, got a few customers, and I actually started it from bedroom in my house. And so I'd wake up in the morning, I'd put on a suit and tie and walk into the next room and sit down in front of a computer and, hope things would happen. And I did that for a while. And when I started getting clients, because I was advertising, I was able to move to my first office, which was in the year 2000, and the name of the office was Suite 2000. And that's where I started from. And I've always worked for myself since then. I've always run one business or the other, one type of hustle or the other. I remember from selling pirated software to you name it, I probably did things not always on the level. But then I started contracting as well, to supplement the income for the company. So I was contracting at the same time as I was running my consultancy. I remember once I used to work for Cisco Systems. I used to, have to fly to Digham in the morning and fly back in the evening and still go to the office and work till about 11 o'clock at night. So I used to do about 14 hours a day. And so running a business providing both services and products, something that I've sort of like grown up with. My first product-based business was ergonomic furniture. I remember back in I think just the early parts of 2000, I went to Malaysia for something to do with the multimedia super corridor. This was way back then when the multimedia super corridor was supposed to be the transactional medium for companies that wanted to do international transactions. I'd heard about it and I had some good contacts. And so I, combined the holiday with this event, and I went to Malaysia. And I was coming out of an exhibition, some event where I went to, and I saw these desks, and I looked at them. I was like, wow, this is really different. I'd heard of ergonomic furniture, but I'd never seen one so simplistic. And so the next day I went to the company in a place called Kuchai Lama, and they were called Agroline, and negotiated the purchase of some samples, took the samples back to the UK, pitched it to some of my friends who were my business partners. We shared office space, and then next thing you know, we had a container load coming in to the UK, and then we started a business called Ergo Series. and which we did. Had an exhibition at the Excel Center, and I guess poor cash management put us in a rather precarious position. But at the same time, I had started looking heavily into ergonomic furniture, and then met up with somebody who had a business in Finland, which was really the heartland of ergonomic furniture with regards to dealing with ergonomics in the sense of the word, looking for things against multiple musculoskeletal diseases and all kinds of multiple sclerosis type things. And so it was very technical, and we had a meeting in London and we talked, and then fortunately for me, I was able to go to Finland, sit down there, talk to him, see his establishment, and the birth of my second ergonomic furniture venture started there. Harpy Mill Trading Oy, which was in Finland, and Harpy Mill Trading UK, which became what I did until I went bankrupt. And so after my bankruptcy, everything liquidated. I had to really start again, and started again, and going back into furnishing projects and combining it with IT, and went bankrupt the second time before I moved to Southeast Asia. And I recall doing some work for a short period of time, but really pulling out of that, and then going into making T-shirts, making shoes, selling soap in the market, different kinds of things. Anything that I just felt like doing, I'd do. I was writing at the same time. I'd written an article that was published by the national newspaper, and also I was writing a column for a magazine here, a bi-weekly column, and I was working. I was just doing anything. I was finding myself. I was rediscovering who I was. I wanted to do more writing, and I wanted to write a book. So I had to supplement income, and then also see the best way forward, considering my status here. And so I did a few odd bits and bobs. Consultation. I was still doing a lot of consultation for some of my friends in the UK with regards to, because I studied a bit on taxation and all that using bookkeeping applications, and so I did a bit of that, and I was more like a jack of convenient trades, but I didn't really hone into any one business per se. I did quite a few things. I went into nutrition. I was looking at healthy drinks. I remember when I wrote my book in 2010, I had stopped working in order to do the book, in order to write the book. So I hadn't done any work for about 2 years, and I was still doing consultation for some of my friends back in the UK, and I was getting some revenue through that. But I wasn't really physically doing anything. So I like I said, a friend of mine makes soaps, and I was just, take his soaps and then rebrand and sell in the market and all that, just to, tidy over. But then when my book came out, which I had to literally borrow money from my landlady in order to pay for the publishing, I used to put my book in a backpack and walk around selling books. And I sold 300 books from my backpack in wine bars, nightclubs, in restaurants. Wherever I went, I had a backpack full of 10 to 15 books, and I sold books wherever I could. And that was a mode of survival for a while, until me and my wife decided that I should focus more on helping to develop her business, which eventually became the business that I focused a lot of my attention on rebuilding, and it built up into what is the establishment today that most who know me have come to know me as being part of, amongst other things that I do. I have a farm where I grow stuff for herbal tea and some other things that I make, and Yeah, so business is something that I know. I haven't really spent a lot of my time working for other people. I think in the early days when I was a teenager coming up and when I was in my early 20s, I did work, manual labor. I worked for the London Underground as a train guard / motorman before I went back into university to do my first degree and my master's at the age of 22. So during that time, I was just on the hustle. Anything that I could do in order to make money, I would do. Nothing illegal, just things like, buy and sell clothes or this or that. I'd always been in the trade business. I'd always been trading, so to speak. I'd always loved the idea of trading, buying and selling or creating something and, seeing the best price I could get for it and actually, going against the market and different things. I've worked in clothing and furniture. It's interesting when I sit back and as I'm talking about all these things, I have all these memories flashing in front of me, and I'm remembering so many things that I did. I had, like my T-shirt, it's called Inspirewear, that was born from the book. And Inspirewear, believe it or not, it went into these. These shirts were actually made. At one point in time, I never actually bought clothes. I made all the clothes that I put on, including suits. I had a tailor who would actually sew things to my specification, and I'd sell some and I'll keep some. And because I was always a little bit keen on fashion too. And so I tried to make a business out of literally anything that I could land my hands on, anything that I really wanted to do, anything my mind resolved to get involved in. For me, what was interesting after the first two bankruptcies was money. I had to learn about money, learn what money was, how to keep money, how to use money, how to really understand the fundamentals and the dynamics, the science and the art about money because money, it's easy to make money, but it's very hard to keep it. So certain principles I had to adopt, things like saving, became very important to me, and the idea of spending less than you earn became a fundamental principle, and then learning the difference between currency and money, what is sound money, about investing, about what an asset is and what a liability is, and regardless of whatever other people say they are, really learning about what they truly are, and making sure that with the little funds that I had, I purchased more assets and less liabilities, and then I, learn about being practical in expenditure, budgeting, learning about making your own personal expense ledgers and making sure that you follow it to a T, and just general discipline, and then letting money work for you, because money always flows into a place where it can actually be active. If money is left stagnant, it sort of like loses interest. And that is literal. It's always good to move it into places where it can actually do things for you. And learn about finance, learn about the global economic structure, how it works. So I attended seminars, I bought books, I learned, I invested, I listened, watched a lot of programs, and took in a lot of information, and then I put it into practical use now to make sure that the information was effective and that what was suggested would work. And when it worked, I stuck with that. I tend to try things out if the result is positive, if I know that there's a result from the activity, and I hold on to that result, and I just keep repeating that particular action every time I'm faced with something relative to that, because you know what the result is, and the result is not guaranteed, but depending on the effort you put in, you get the result that you get. And so that's how it has been for me, the personal transition from my teens all the way up till now. I've been in one way or the other involved in some kind of activity that could be classed as business. I've always been involved in some kind of trade all the time. And the lessons came from reckless behavior, trying to be one of the Joneses, living beyond my means, and trying to become what I wasn't, and get noticed for what I hadn't accomplished. And so they were hard lessons I learned, and they're invaluable because those lessons guide me even till this day. I would never downplay the value of all those lessons that I learned from all the things, all the misadventures that I had. They've served me quite extenuously, especially now when I run a business, and I also invest in a few activities, and there are a lot of people who are employed by these activities, and so to play with their livelihood would be a reckless thing to do. So for me, one of the important things to know is how to use what I have in order to make sure that all those that depend on this particular system that is built can be certain that they would be able to sustain their livelihood. So that thing Spider-Man said in the first Spider-Man movie that I think was made by Tobey Maguire, which said, with great power comes great responsibility. When you're in a position where a lot of people depend on you, a few people depend on you for their livelihood, there's a great responsibility attached to that. So one can easily see revenue coming in and then use it for personal entertainment, but then you can't sustain the business, and the business cannot grow, and you can't actually see it transform from what it is to what it can become. So it's very important to have very sound financial habits, sound money habits when you're running a business, especially at this time, this COVID time. It's important to know how to use whatever funds you have in order to generate either more funds or to sustain the momentum that you have in your business. Okay, so that was quite a long one, but it's necessary to say these things every now and then. So these things. This is also educational for me, knowing where I've come from and where I'm at and where I intend to go to. It's always necessary to hear these things and know that there's still a long way to go, and to just keep working on improving. Ethics in business is another thing that is very important, because one of the things that would guarantee repeat customers is trust. Whoever you're doing business with, they have to be able to trust you. A reputation is it's easy to destroy a good reputation. It's hard to build one up, because as it says, your best salesman is your customer. So if your customer is dissatisfied, they would quickly bring down the reputation of your business if they're not satisfied or if they feel in any way aggrieved with the service that they've received. So it is very important to make a note of how your customer feels about the interaction they have with you, with the products that you have, with the services that they receive, and to try and fix things as quickly as possible, and to be able to make sure that you satisfy the customer, because they're giving you money for whatever you have to offer, and that money can go to different places. They choose you. You should see that as a privilege and not just a consequence of the fact that you are good at what you do, because then the arrogance creeps in. You have to see it as a privilege. Somebody is giving you money for something that you're creating is a privilege, and you don't abuse it as thus. So if something goes wrong during that interaction, it's good to find out what is wrong from the customer's perspective and from our perspective as well. You run an investigation and then reach a conclusion that is amicable between both of you. And so the situation is resolved and they feel like, they have been treated fairly. It's very important. One of the things that we do is, regardless of whatever amount of money is left or whatever money is paid and overpaid, that money is always returned to the customer, because it is more important for the customer to know that if they make a mistake running a transaction, that they would be reimbursed. And so I emphasized on that quite a lot, when business started and as we go forward. It doesn't really matter, even if it's a penny or even if it's a pound, we would always return it because we believe you should know that you are trusting us with your funds and we're trusting you with our products, and it should be a mutual exchange and not one that is exclusively beneficial for one sector. It should be mutually beneficial for both of us because we value our products and we have set that value in monetary terms, and you value your money and you're exchanging that valuable money for a product based on the price that we have preset, and so you should get good value for your money. That's just the way we do things. We're not in using popular terms, we're not successful in terms of our growth, but our growth is consistent because it's based on an honest interaction between us and our customers. And fortunately, that's one of the reasons why we have a lot of repeat customers and why we seem to thrive even during periods where there's a vast amount of uncertainty and hardship. So honesty is very important in business. It's extremely important. It's not the popular culture because it's all about getting ahead and squashing your competition and all that. I don't believe in that. I think there's more than enough room for everybody to participate in any activity and still be profitable. It all depends on the quality of the product that you give or the quality of service and the consistency, in terms of what you do, If you give good quality and you're consistent with regards, it's like you go to a restaurant and today the food tastes good and tomorrow it doesn't taste nice, but they still charge you the same price. You would feel aggrieved at some point and you would want to complain. Or if you don't want to complain, you just stop going there. But if the food is moderately priced and it's consistently good every single day, and then you would always go back there. I think it is necessary that people do not overestimate the value of things. It's dangerous. A modest profit is always good, but one has to be realistic. It doesn't matter what you call yourself, 4-star, 5-star, 10-star, I don't care. If you are serving people, it's always good to get good value for money. Yes, if you're one of those people that provide opulent services, yes, you have to charge for the environment and the atmosphere. But if you overcharge and then your quality doesn't meet up, then ultimately you will lose customers. And so, coping with businesses in COVID, moderately price your products and the services that you provide. Look towards adapting to the situation by taking a look at your inventory and making sure that your inventory is relative to the sales that you perform. Make sure that your staff are adequately compensated, even though you might rotate them. Try and compensate them using other means. And it's not just a question of trying to, think of preserving self, because if you think about it, your earnings are considerably higher, and so you can, reduce a little bit of yours and put it back into theirs in order to make sure that things are fairer, And in terms of preparation for the post-COVID era, this would be the best time for you to take a look at the business and then begin to put in those changes that needed to be put in. Start making those adjustments that need to be made. Because this is the lag time. Any investment that needs to go in order to prop up the business to be more stable, this would be the ideal time to actually make that investment. If you need to paint the shop, now you paint the shop. If you need to prepare for the time when customers will come, then if you need to work on your menu, try a few new things, be a bit more innovative. The most important thing is the aspect of technology and how it actually links up with your business. Get that website done. Start looking towards the introduction of digital payments with regards to your business, because it's inevitable. It's going to happen. Better to get ready for that now than later. Look towards online advertising, online marketing solutions, using social media in order to prop up your business. In the old days, if you wanted to open a shop, the location was very important. You'd say, okay, fine. One of the things that you need to find is the right location, so the passing traffic. Say if you were selling something in a busy high street, 400 people pass. The law of the 10th law, which is something a lot of businesses use. If 400 people pass, 10% goes in, and if 10% goes in, which is 40, 10% of that 40 will actually make a purchase. So for every 400 people that go in, you are more or less guaranteed a purchase of 4 people. And so it's like a 1% of the passing traffic that enter your premises. Things like that allow you to think and plan. And in the old days, like I said, this was the case, but nowadays it's not the case because, because of the COVID restrictions, a lot of people are now forced to make their purchases online. And so in order to tap into that market, you have to get the necessary infrastructure online to make sure that you can facilitate in that market. And believe me, the way things happen when we have come to this point where a lot of people are beginning to depend on online for literally everything that they want to buy, it's not going to change. It's only going to expand in that region. You still have the terrestrial shopping and the activities that people will do, but ultimately, the biggest marketplace has to be online. So to stay competitive there and to be able to provide the same kind of semi-realistic, I use the word semi because there's nothing real there per se, but to create a quasi or semi-realistic feel. So a lot more explanation with regards to the products, a lot more. Say if you're selling something, usually you put 2 pictures, now you put 6 or 7 pictures showing different angles, and then, there are ways to go around doing this, to make the experience more dynamic and more beneficial to you, and to be sure that people are well informed of what they're going to buy, because it's no longer a situation where they touch, they feel, they see. Now they just have to rely on your reputation and rely on the fact that, what you say is what you deliver. And remember, if you're consistently disappointing people, then you would find yourself on the back end of a failing business. Yeah, it's important. So, okay, to recap, said a lot, covered a lot of ground, talked at a ridiculously fast pace, and I didn't really live it down to, the EA2 style is not the conventional style of looking at things, taking one topic and dealing with one particular thing, or you look at cash flow and you talk about cash flow. I look at everything because everything is connected, and everything is actually based on my experience. It's not based on any, obviously I had to take in the theory and then put it into practice and then get results. But everything I speak to you about is about something that I've done, and something that I am doing, and something that I know generates result. And so I know that I'm getting a result from it. I know that I'm able to move based on the result that I'm getting. So I'm not selling you a pie that I haven't tasted. I'm actually giving you something that I've tried and I've tested that I know works. It produces a result. And these are the same things that I do for my businesses and for my own personal life that I'm actually suggesting that other people engage in. So I'm not feeding you a bunch of theoretical stuff from books that I can't actually comprehend with myself, but sounds good when you say it. That's not my style. I want to share experiences. Everything that I talk about is what I do, is how I live, is how I roll. It's what I believe in. So everything that I talk about, these are personal experiences with regards to business, how I conduct business. I don't go heavy into technical stuff. I'm sure there's so many people out there that can give you ample technical information if you're into that kind of thing. They'll give you graphs and charts and give you all the terminologies that you need in order to feel like you're learning something. I don't believe in that. listen to them. But if I am explaining something, I want to explain it in such a way that I can explain it to my 10-year-old daughter or my 6-year-old nephew, and he'll be able to get it and say, yeah, I understand what you're saying, because then I know I truly understand what I'm talking about. So, like I said, to recap, COVID is a very difficult time. Your cash flow will be affected, so it's about realigning cash flow in order to make sure that you have adequate cash for any kind of emergency. So you don't stop saving, you don't stop putting money away you can actually liquidate some of the assets that you've collected, but, if you can still collect some, because it's a never-ending thing. I would suggest reducing profits a little bit. It's a compassionate way to show that you understand what's really going on. So if you can afford to reduce your profit margin, do that. We have done that. We've reduced the profit margin, and even though the cost of production has gone up, we try to make sure that we reduce the profit margin now to make sure that we don't transfer the full weight of that to the customer, and we look towards regaining, or we look towards doing better based on the volume of business we do rather than the profit of the individual unit that we sell. I've always believed in voluminous business, so I'd rather produce something that cost me, say I produce it for 50, let's use pounds, because say I produce it for 50 pounds and the market rate is 75 pounds, I produce it for 50 at this COVID time. I'd rather, if the production goes up to say 55, I'll sell for 65 still, or sell for 70, because I know I have to pay staff and all that. So I sell for 70 instead of 75, and then the impact is reduced, on the consumer, and then I would hope that they would buy more because I'm selling the equivalent 75 quality for 70 and taking a little bit of the impact there. So, we both share the blows, and then hopefully when they use the product that I sell and they see that, oh, it's the same quality as the guy who's selling it for 75, and evidently I would be taking a little bit more market from them. And so that's the name of my game. Keep the pricing fair, to make sure that we do more volume and reduce the profit margin. Number 2, inventory. You have to check your inventory in order to make sure that the amount of inventory you hold is relative to the quantity of sales that you do. This is very important because in panic situations, people tend to overstock, and I don't recommend overstocking at this particular point in time. I would say have a good equation that works well for you. And some people do 3-to-1, 4-to-1. Look for what works for you, and then keep stock relative to sales, and then just keep a little bit of backup just in case. But I would advise at this point in time to reduce the overstocking situation. If it works, that's what works for me. Anyhow, with regards to staff, like I said, since you're rotating staff and you have to reduce the amount of hours they work, you look towards giving them, other things that would supplement income. What we do is we have something called Sambako, which, you buy food items every month, and you give them a bag full of food items that they can actually use to supplement income. So things like that would help. It goes a long way, and it re-energizes their enthusiasm in your business, and they help you because the staff, without the staff, what are you going to do? With a business like mine where we, produce quite a lot of items, the staff keep everything happening. So you have to actually look after your staff. In fact, I would prioritize the staff a hell of a lot more than I would do vendors because the staff keep you alive and they maintain the standard of living that you're being able to reach. So look after your money, look after your stock, look after your staff. These are the very, very important things. Adapt to technology. This is important, the engaging technology now, payment systems, look towards making sure that you have most of the payment systems set up so whichever medium people use to pay for products, you can use that and sell your products, to make sure that you get paid anyway how. And, prepare for the post-COVID era by making sure that any infrastructural change you need to make, you're making it now. Any kind of modification you need to make, to your logo, your insignia, to, your marketing strategy, whatever changes you need to make now that you have very little traffic, this is the right time to do it. You don't wait till you're very busy and you start doing it, and then that takes away from the amount of time and energy you can put into, making sure that you're sustaining the business or you're innovating the products that you're shooting out there. So all in all, that's more or less where I'm coming from, and that's what I'm looking at, and I hope it's been helpful. I hope the information has been some way beneficial for you. It's been therapeutic for me, reminding me of some of the things that I do and getting ideas of what I should do more and next. So, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for taking time to listen to the ramblings of this semi-insane. If you have gained anything from this, feel free to share it with whoever you believe will gain as well. Subscribe so you could get click on the notification button so you get notification when I make videos like this, when I provide when I put out videos and provide the kind of information that I feel will be beneficial for our collective growth. Remember, 2021, the theme of 2021 is better world deserves better people. So if you can help somebody improve the quality of themselves, their lives, why not? It all comes back. If we all improve the quality of our lives, then we can overcome the evil that has kept us in this state of perpetual poverty and servitude, and I'm talking about the majority of the world, for so long. I think that we can do better as people, and the world deserves better people. Well, until next time, thank you. Have a nice day.